chair of the Premier's Council for Youth Opportunities. The PCYO, for those of you who are unaware of what our role is and what the fancy acronym stands for, I know there's a lot of acronyms in government, so this is going to be the first of many. We're an advisory body to the Premiers of Ontario and the Minister of Children and Youth Services. We're a team of 25 youth, young professionals, and other community leaders from various cultures and backgrounds. And we are here today, more importantly, because of a lot of the advocacy and the advice given by PCYO from its cohort in 2015 and from folks like Patricia Drummond, who's here today. So let's give her a round of applause. And a lot of the others who served on PCYO during her cohort and who also helped launch PCYO in 2013. PCYO advocated for youth voice in government. We pushed for the development of a digital platform for young people to engage with government in a two-way conversation on issues that impact the lives of young people every single day.
Hello everyone, it's great to be here. Thank you, Zachariah, for the warm introduction. How y'all doing today?
How are you?
I'm from Kansas, that's what I'm saying. How y'all doing? So I'm the Chief Digital Officer of Ontario. It's a brand new thing to essentially help the government of Ontario become a more digital organization. To think digitally, to think digital first, to hopefully make all of your future interactions with this fine province as easy and simple as possible. I get to lead a team of about 60 folks. We're called the Ontario Digital Service. Just out of total curiosity, raise your hand if you've even heard of that. Oh, there are a few. That's excellent, excellent. Well, as I mentioned, we're a new team that was actually just set up over this last year to essentially help make Ontario Canada's most open, transparent, and digitally connected government. We're about 60 people. We are a product-type team. We're trying to build services very similar to the one that we're launching here today. We are developers, we're designers, user researchers, product managers, people who are essentially helping ministries across the government build cool tools. Our role is to lead the change toward more and more of that type of work, little by little, bit by bit, so that the government is designing and creating products and services on the web that can help transform lives, that can, as I said, help make your interactions with the government easier. Minister Matthews, I'm sure, is going to wax on about one of our favorite products. It's one of her favorites. So we'll tell you a little bit about that. But I just really wanted to let you know that I feel like this is a really important job because it depends on connecting our ministry partners, on connecting people all across the government with people like you. Because your perspectives matter, and they matter a heck of a lot. In fact, your needs really lie at the heart of our mission. Our mission is essentially to make government simpler. We're focused on helping the government do that in what we call kind of a human-centric way, a human-focused way, something that is designed and built for you, not for people behind the desks working for the government that maybe think they know what we need to create, but for actual people who are going to be using those services. So we're trying to make the government a bit more human-focused, design-centric, agile, open, data-driven, and really trying to mobilize new ideas so that we can quickly deploy tools and services that are easy to use, much like what we're going to do here today. Our goal really through all these projects is to introduce a new way of looking at how we design and deliver these services. Again, it's that we want to have the people who are going to be using them in mind from the beginning. So sometimes we call that co-creation or co-design. We're going to do a little bit of research. We're going to have a hypothesis. We're going to follow the scientific method. And we're going to put something together and then try to get it into the hands of real people to tell us whether we're on the right track. very much like what Youth Voice On is trying to do in terms of getting you involved in different parts of government. So the secret to this success, I believe, kind of in the long run, is that we can't do it alone. I say that to all the different groups that I speak to because it's important no matter who I'm talking to. Whether it's my colleagues inside the government, we can't do it alone, just our little team of 60. We need their help. If I'm talking at a conference full of people like me, whether they work for government or whether they work for technology companies, it's important to let them know we can't do this alone, we need their help. And here today, it's also important to let you all know that we can't do it without you. We can't know where this government needs to go without your input. So thank you all for being here. We're really eager to hear from you. Looking around the room, I can tell you all have awesome ideas. The smiles, the head nodding, you already know a little bit of what I'm talking about. So this is awesome. I may be the Chief Digital Officer, but I'm still a designer at heart. And I believe that what we're doing and what you're doing, what you're participating in today, that this sort of human-centered design can really fundamentally change the experience that we all have with our government. So we're lighting sparks throughout the government. You're going to light sparks here today. And together, all of those are going to come together to build something much, much bigger. So thank you for coming. Thank you for bringing your creative minds, for helping make our government a bit more awesome. And now I'd like to introduce someone who truly, deeply cares about the people using our services even more than I do. She's one of the reasons I came to Ontario to take on this role. And she is the big boss of the Ontario Digital Service. So please join me in welcoming Minister of Advanced Education and Skills Development and my Minister responsible for digital government, Deb Matthews.
So let me thank you, Hillary, and thank you for everything you do. She's a pretty cool person, and she does not look like or talk like or act like a bureaucrat, does she? So she's just wonderful to work with. So here's what this is all about. We know that young people have great ideas about how to make our government, our province, even more awesome than it is. But we don't always have a really good way to find out from you what those good ideas are. We don't have a good way of figuring out, of getting your advice. Because I bet not too many of you have been to visit your MPP with your great idea, or written a letter to a politician. I think that probably isn't a vehicle that most young people want to use. So we want to use the magical power of technology to actually find out what you're thinking. Because we're all here for you. We're all here trying to make the best possible place. We're trying to make Ontario the best possible place, the very best it could be. You know, as Hillary said, my very favorite accomplishment so far is the total transformation of student financial assistance. Because we really think money should never, ever prevent somebody from getting the very best possible education. So we totally changed how we deliver financial aid to students. And that was an idea that came from students. They approached us and said, you know, there's a better way. You know, if you reorganize what you're already spending, it actually could make college and university accessible to everybody. So the idea came from students. We did some work, and then we presented it back to students. And now I'm happy to tell you that 1/3 of students in Ontario today are getting college or university for free. So we're doing a really good job, and we're really happy with how many more students are taking it up. One of the reasons we are getting such high uptake of OSAP is because we use digital tools to actually explain to people how much financial aid there was. So if you have not already checked out ontario.ca/OSAP, please do. Ontario.ca/OSAP, where you could, by answering just a few questions, understand how much money you can get. to help you go on to college or university. It's a very cool tool. But we know there's so much more we can do, and we also know the financial barriers are one reason that students don't go on to college or university, but there are a whole bunch of other reasons too. And that's what this exercise is all about. The very first project that Youth Voices On is undertaking is to learn from young people. What else, what are the other barriers that prevent them from fulfilling their dreams? So you're going to be asked some questions about, do you see the value in a post-secondary education? What are some of those barriers, and how can we overcome those barriers? Because we want everybody to have the opportunity. We want everybody in this province, and not just young people, but mature students too. So you're going to help us. You're going to help us take down those barriers to post-secondary education, to college, to university, to apprenticeship. You're going to help us so that students will be able to really achieve their full potential, which is what we're all committed to doing. So thank you for participating. Thank you for making this all happen. I can't wait to see what you come up with. Thank you. I had one job to do and I didn't do it. I would like to introduce my friend, my colleague, Minister of Children and Youth Services, Michael Coteau.
Thank you, Deb. Two of the things I love to do most in my community is to go in and visit grade 5 and grade 10 students in their schools. The other thing that I love doing most in my job as an MPP is welcoming those classrooms to the legislature. And the reason why I enjoy that so much is because we have such a great conversation. It usually starts off like this. When I go into the classrooms, I ask young people, I say to them, what would they change if they can change anything out there? And you may get a couple of ideas that come forward. Then I ask the question in a completely different way. I ask the question, when you're walking down the street and you see something that you don't like, something that kind of gets something going in your gut, something that makes you a bit angry, that disturbs you, how does it make you feel? And if you could take that and actually change it, what would, that piece be, and what would that solution look like? And the ideas start coming forward so quickly. Homelessness, the environment. I don't like when people are throwing things on the ground. I don't like people, who are bullying other people. When you ask that question in that way, something else changes in that young person and the passion starts to build. When young people come into Queen's Park, I ask them a question, which is, I always get interesting answers. I ask them, who owns this building that you're in? And, they'll say the mayor or the premier. They'll say me or the lieutenant governor. And then, usually after about 20 answers, it's a young person in the back who says, I do, or we do. And then I remind young people that when they're in the building, when they're walking around, they need to remind themselves that this building is their building, and what's happening in that building is because of them. And I think young people are not reminded of that often enough, that the government acts on their behalf and in their interest, and that they have a say. Recently, Barack Obama was here a couple of weeks ago, and I had the opportunity to go and listen to him. Deb Matthews was there as well. Was anyone else there to see Barack Obama speak? A couple of people? Okay. He said something interesting that just stuck with me. He said there's not enough places for young people to go to learn how to be involved in public policy and to have their voice captured. He's actually starting an initiative in Chicago to look for ways to amplify the voice of young people. What we're doing here today is looking for a way to capture the voice of young people here in Ontario. And we've done some pretty interesting things in the past, by setting up an advisory council to the Premier, which Zachariah, is the chair of. He has a pretty interesting job. He's a young man who's a personal advisor to the Premier of this province. And the young people that sit at that table who provide advice, and I know there are a few here today, right? Now,
Yeah,
put up your hand if you're part of that. Actually, stand up if you're part of that. Stand up for a second. Let's give them a big round of applause for being here. This idea came from that group of young people. you know, we just did the budget talks, and within that, there's a $5 million fund that is being used to support ideas that come from the community. And we can participate in that process. You know, so there are some things that are happening here in Ontario, and of course, you know, one of the funds at my ministry, the Youth Opportunities Fund, that's $13 million that supports youth-based ideas. And Janelle, where are you? You're over here? One of hers, we'll talk about her idea a little bit later, but she is one of the recipients, well, her organization of that fund for civic engagement. Things are happening, but we need to do more. We need to make sure that young people here in the province of Ontario, that their voice is captured and it's amplified. So I'm happy to be here today to be part of the process of amplifying that voice here in the province of Ontario. I wanted to thank Deb Matthews, who's responsible for our colleges and our universities, training, apprenticeship programs here in the province of Ontario, for being here, because I know she believes in this program and that she's very supportive. I think it's cool that we've got a chief digital officer here in Ontario who used to work with Barack Obama in the United States, who's now here in Ontario. You know, I'm pretty excited that we've got Hannah here, who I had the opportunity to meet. Hannah's going to speak to you a little bit later about some of the things that she's doing. And you participated in 30 WE Days?
Yeah.
You spoke at 30 WE Days?
Yeah.
Are you keeping up with your homework?
Yeah.
Okay, good. But I'm so excited to be here, and I know Jeff, who is a former principal and superintendent of education at the Toronto District School Board that I had the ability to work with, who's the responsible for education within we thank you for having us in this space today. It's a pretty cool space, right? Does it look like your classroom? This is what we need more of. I love the podium, I love the backdrop. This is the type of technology that we need to take advantage of in our schools in order to better position young people for success. So I just want to say thank you to the young people here today for participating, for being part of the conversation, and just remember this. When we're at Queen's Park making decisions, or when people are at the House of Commons making decisions, they're making decisions on behalf of you. And every single classroom I go into, I leave with this one message. That the issues that we're talking about today, the economy, jobs, the environment, healthcare, education, you know, the careers of tomorrow, these are issues that affect you, and you have not only a say, you have a right to have a say in what's happening. So, like Deb Matthews said, the minister, you know, don't be afraid to pick up the phone and let your local politician know what you think. Don't be afraid to write a letter, or send an email, or to participate in a process like this, because at the end of the day, the decisions that we're making today are going to affect you long term. And you are going to be the next people in line making decisions to build a better tomorrow. And it doesn't have to start when you're 20 or 30, it can start now. So thank you very much for being here, and thank you to we, and I appreciate most of all, big thanks to the students who took time off school. I hope everyone gets a little bit of extra homework tonight based on this. Maybe you have to write a few reports or something, or no homework today? No homework. Okay. Well, thank you for being here, and I appreciate you taking the time. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you to Minister Coteau, Minister Matthews, and thank you again, Hillary, for your wonderful comments and your reminders of the importance of the role young people should be playing when it comes to policy making in our province, and to have more of a sense of ownership about civic engagement and how they get more involved in their communities. With that being said, now I'm going to quickly move to a demo of the actual tool. In order for you to possibly tweet, one house cleaning duty that I forgot to mention is, if you want to log into the Wi-Fi, the password is Toronto1, Toronto's capitalized, and it's going to be under we, W-E, temp, T-E-M-P, and T is capitalized. So as you can see here, we have the privacy pack that explains what you shouldn't be doing on the tool. And it's a guide to help you understand how your personal information won't be used, and whether or not you could leverage the terms of service for you to have a better understanding of it. Next, I want to really remind you all again of the role of the Premier's Council of Youth Opportunities in helping develop this tool. So PCYO, second cohort in 2015, and since then had a role in helping develop the tool and how it was designed, the layout, what sort of issues are going to be addressed. And if you do want to go ahead and tweet, here's the how to do that. So step one, you post and share your policy questions. And there are various policy questions that are used throughout different weeks or days by Youth Voice On. Step two, you have your say on social media, and you can do it anonymously below, and I will showcase that in a minute. And step three is that your advice is taken seriously and listened to by the Ministry's Children and Youth Services and the staff that are leading this initiative in government. And last step is you can also see how you made a difference for Ontario's youth. The example we gave is the role of PCYO, where young people and young professionals have a role in helping develop this tool. Currently, right now, the discussion going on is about increasing access to college, university, and apprenticeships for all young people. And here is the conversation we currently have going on, where people have been tweeting using the hashtag ONYouth and also ONPSE to highlight our current discussion. And if you want to post anonymously without having your name or anything like that, you can do this here, where there's the anonymous site conversation. And more importantly, there is a notice where you can access the PSC anonymous response form, put in your feedback, ensure that you're not a robot, and also review feedback on what you were able to give. Now I'm going to segue into the Premier's Council for Youth Opportunities page. For those of you who are older than 16 and would love to sign up and play a role in the Premier's Council, I believe they're currently accepting applications, so I'll do this quickly here. So right here, there's the Premier's Council for Youth Opportunities page. So as you can see, if you have any questions about the application process, here at today's event, feel free to speak to myself, the members that we have in the back, the ministry staff, but also use the website where it gives you a better explanation about the role of PCYO. And here's some of the tweets we've had over the last bit about what we do at our meetings. There's a nice photo of the minister and all of us together. There's also different highlights about what we do at our meetings and our capacity building activities. So that is in just what Youth Voice On tool is and what Premier's Council's Youth Opportunities role is on the page for any of you who are interested in being a part of it. With that being said, now I have the great pleasure of introducing Janelle Hines. She is our next speaker, and she is a Youth Opportunities Fund grant recipient. She's a founder of Helping Hands, a digital platform that helps youth find volunteering opportunities and be more civically engaged. One of the key messages we hope everyone gets out of today's event. While pursuing a degree at a biomedical engineering degree, Janelle realized her passion for education, which stands for STEM, which is part of the education she studied, is around science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And she's really done a lot of work in entrepreneurship, diversity, and inclusion. Janelle is also a staunch advocate for social inclusion. And I would like to ask one of our launch questions to kick off the conversation about what is the value of going to post-secondary education in your opinion? So let's welcome Janelle Hines.
For me, I know I'm very privileged. My mom's an immigrant to come to Canada. To come to Canada and be able to pursue post-secondary education. I went to McMaster and I did a degree in biomedical and electrical engineering. And for me, I loved it. I got to find out, look at hearts and figure out if someone has their heart isn't beating properly, how can you get a pacemaker that will help them get back. And that's something that I wouldn't have had an opportunity for if I didn't go to post-secondary education. Post-secondary education is great because it allows you to really discover yourself and figure out ways to build skills for your career. So that's kind of a short quick of, to be honest, everyone, it's not only about university, it's also about colleges and trade schools, and that's something that I really encourage everyone here to kind of look out, not just look at university, but to really look and explore all the different pathways that are available to you in Ontario. The reason why I was invited here is that I'm here to dispel a misconception. A misconception that youth do not want to be engaged, that youth do not have a voice. Have you sat down as a teenager recently and had a really deep conversation? That kid that sits at the back of class, that doesn't really speak up, a lot of people have written them off. That kid may have great ideas on how to help other youth pursue post-secondary education, like this week's topic on Youth Voice ON, or how schools can accommodate youth in care, or how schools can be safer for youth with prevalent medical conditions. 2 topics Ontario decided this week. Youth have been civically involved, from the Legislative Assembly of Ontario's model parliament to municipal youth committees to get involved in global affairs. However, these amazing initiatives can only accommodate a certain amount of youth. Youth are not engaged not because they're lazy, but because there are systematic barriers. Understanding the process to tell government officials your ideas isn't easy, even for adults. And that's why I'm so happy about the launch of Youth Voice ON, and that they're launching a digital civic engagement platform. This allows all youth, especially those in rural areas or with other disadvantages, to be engaged. At Help Enhance, we recognize this very issue and that need. That's why we created an online digital civic engagement platform that allows youth to find meaningful volunteer opportunities that allows them to get engaged in their communities on issues that matter to them, while building skills that they need for their future careers. We teach youth how to recognize their strongest skill sets and how to use these as their assets. So let's say, who likes art in here? Yeah? Let's say you're not really comfortable with your communication skills. We can match you to something like a museum tour guide. That way you're really enjoying working in a place with art and it's something that you're passionate about, but you get to improve on your communication skills. However, it's much more than that. We want to ensure that youth have leadership opportunities and have their voices heard. Thanks to the Ontario Trillium Foundation, through the Youth Opportunity Fund, we got funding that will allow us to share our stories of youth that are improving in their own things in their own community. We'll do this through workshops, through a youth action committee, through our blog initiative, and volunteer fairs, all while providing ongoing support. So for educators, we're trying to help them do community-connected experiential education. For community organizations that work with youth, or they're looking for volunteers, we want to help them. So you can get in touch with us at helpenhanceapp.com. But most importantly, if you're a youth, check out our platform. Find the place that you want to get engaged with in your community. We're actually going to be launching our application for the Youth Advisory Committee, so we really love a lot of the very youth in this very room to apply. Because at Helping Hands, we're here to lend all of you guys a helping hand. Thank you.
Thank you, Janelle, for explaining your career background and how impactful some of the work you've done has been already. Now we're going to move to our next speaker, who is 14 years old. She's a blogger, she's an author, activist, eco-warrior, motivational speaker, kind raiser, not a fundraiser, but kind raiser, ambassador, and a Me Day and Me to We speaker. Please join me in welcoming Hannah to the stage.
Awesome. Okay, I'm just gonna walk around because I don't know if you guys can see me over that podium, so I'm just gonna walk around here. So, good afternoon. I am so happy to be here today for the launch of Youth Voice Ontario. Minister Michael Coteau and Minister Deb Matthews, thank you so much for having me. And I love that you're just like having my book open. That's awesome. And welcome to the We Global Learning Center. So I'm a blogger, a motivational speaker, and activist, and I recently became a published author. My book, Momentous Small Acts, Big Change, just released last week, and it's really based on the idea that anyone can change the world, because we all have the capacity and the power to change the world. Now, when I say change the world, I'm talking about the whole world for sure, but I'm also talking about your community and whatever that means to you. That could be your school, your neighborhood, your city. I'm talking about the place that matters to you. I've had the opportunity to travel across North America and to Kenya with WE, and I can assure you that young people care deeply and are creating huge, sustainable, and lasting change. So I've been a WE ambassador for 6 years, and it's my great honor to welcome everyone here today on behalf of Craig and Mark Kielberger and the whole WE family. The WE Global Learning Center officially opened 1 month ago, and it is really such a fitting place for today's launch of Youth Voice Ontario. This place is really a testament to youth and really our voices. It's kind of been 23 years in the making. In 1995, 12-year-old Craig Kielberger founded what we know today as WE, and together with his friends and his brother, Mark, it operated out of the basement of their family home. Craig and Mark always say that this is the place that they wish that they had when they were making a difference on both local and global issues when they were youth. This space is really filled with youth empowerment, whether it's opportunities to connect with other like-minded youth just like you and me, or mentors across Canada in person, or connecting with people across Canada and around the world through technology. Technology, the internet, that's just another thing that Mark and Craig would have really loved when they got started. The internet is what has empowered me to find, use, and amplify my voice. So when I was 9 years old, I started my blog with a simple ambition. I was going to learn about the environment, model eco-friendly living habits, and share that through writing and photos with the hope to inspire others to join me. My blog was about living my belief that the little things that we all do add up to make a big difference. See, if lots of people took small actions, we could create the country and the world that we would all be proud to live in. It was off to a great start. Post by post, comment by comment, action by action, I came to realize that there were other young people who were just as passionate about so many issues as I was. People were trying my suggestions with their family and friends. Little things were adding up. I was 9 years old and I was far too young for social media. But my blog, callmehannah.ca, was my entry point into social action, and it set me up for it. To be honest, the best birthday present that I could ever ask for, besides getting a puppy, was when I turned 13 and I was able to get my social media accounts, like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat. And over the years since then, the issues that I'm passionate about has really grown to include poverty, education, homelessness, the environment, mental health, youth empowerment, and so much more. So I've been called a social media activist, and to be honest, that's pretty accurate. With social media, our voices have the power to reach people that live in different cities, provinces, and even countries. And that brings me to why we are here today. The launch of Youth Voice Ontario is really everything that I believe in. Number one, we are not too young to care, and we are certainly not too young to understand the issues that are going on in the world. In fact, we are really interested and really passionate about them. Why? Because this is our future. Number two, I have to say that one of my favorite WE Day moments had to be when Prime Minister Justin Trudeau got on stage in front of 20,000 youth and he said, "You are not the leaders of tomorrow, you are the leaders of today." Number three, our voices matter. Just because we can't vote yet does not mean that our opinions shouldn't be counted. This is our province and our country too. Because the decisions that are made affect us today and tomorrow. I'm so grateful that you recognize this and are supporting this in such a big way with the launch of Youth Voice Ontario. Thank you for wanting to hear us and for listening to us. We are so looking forward to seeing what comes next, and personally, I am so excited to see what comes next and to be a part of the conversation. So I want to share a quote to lead that really inspires me on my path. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. I hope that this incredible initiative in Ontario will inspire the rest of Canada to join us. So let's go far together. Thank you. So now I am really excited to introduce a really good friend of mine. His name is Jeff Hainbook, and I'm going to remember his title. He is the head of educational partnerships. So basically what that means is that he works with the ministers and with the superintendents everywhere. He's a pretty cool guy, and usually it's him introducing me. So I'm very excited to introduce my good friend, Jeff Hainbook.
Usually when we do the introductions, I kneel beside her like this, and I introduce Hannah. Thank you, Hannah. Let's give Hannah another round of applause. Hannah, it's always a pleasure to share the stage with you. She is truly a young lady, someone who is a member of the We Movement. Congratulations, Hannah. As Hannah said, my name is Jeff Hainbuck, and I have the pleasure of being the head of educational partnerships with We. I get the opportunity to meet with school superintendents, ministers of education, directors all across Canada. Today is a very special day for me. Thank you to our ministry friends, Minister Coteau, Minister Matthews. Thank you for coming to the We Global Learning Center. We are so thrilled that you chose this center to reach out to students across the province and to launch Youth Voice Ontario. We share your vision of the importance of student voice, student participation, and most importantly, student action. Congratulations on this bold initiative. I would be remiss if I didn't thank our two schools that are here today. St. Mary's Catholic Academy, where are you? Put up your hands, folks. Thank you. And Broadlands Elementary School, where are you? Fun fact, my wife actually taught at Broadlands Elementary School, so it's nice to see you here. I'd also like to thank our host today, Zachariah, Hillary, for your kind words, and Janelle. It is clear to me that the world is in good hands with these two young people, and Hannah too at the lead. We were talking with Hannah while Minister Coteau and Minister Matthews were speaking, nudging her that, in a couple of years, she should look at the Ministers' Youth Council and really apply for an opportunity like that. I hope that other students in this audience are also thinking of that as well. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for coming today. Lastly, Hannah will be in the lobby later, and she has copies of books. Students, if you want to meet Hannah firsthand and have a chance to speak with her about her book. So please join me in the lobby after, where you can have a conversation with Hannah. Thank you again.
Thank you, Jeff, and thank you, Hannah, for your incredible remarks and reminders of the importance that we place in amplifying the voices of young people across the world, but also here in the province of Ontario. We're now going to get started with what we like to call a design jam. As you can see, there's a bunch of tables in the back, and that's not for any reason. You're going to have a bunch of fun in a bit. On the Youth Voice on site, there are 5 questions that have been posted about accessing post-secondary education. To answer the first couple of questions, I'd like everyone, once they get to the back tables, to get into small groups. And the tables at the back, as mentioned, have chart paper, markers, and some other materials like pipe cleaners and post-it notes to help you all brainstorm your incredible ideas. You can then tweet or post anonymously on the Youth Voice On website using your phone or the tablets on the table. If you have any other questions, some members of PCUL, like myself and others, are around to help you out. There's also a video booth at the back, and see my friend David, who's sitting right now, we can stand up right there. See David, if you'd like to record a video message about your thoughts on post-secondary education or the importance of Youth Voice. This has been a fun day. Thank you all for coming once again, and please enjoy the rest of the afternoon. Take care.